Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is Lord.
Hello, and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate. It's been a rough couple of days for me. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to spare you the details, but I'm recovering from food poisoning. I do not know how long this blazer is going to last, but alas, we are dressed up today. We are taking it up a notch. I want to say, good work to Outside the Overton. They are continuing this fight against the official narrative. Those guys are doing great work. I was able to step in and catch a little bit of them. But we have a lot to get into today. And when I mean a lot, there's just a lot moving, a lot going on. And quite frankly, this is more in the line of being in the dark and a lot of confusion, a lot of mud flinging. Now, for those who might not have caught the thumbnail today actually is showing two different images. And there's a battle going on right now as it pertains to the Grand Blanc, Michigan church attack that supposedly we are now trying to figure out. We are scouring the digital and the physical profile of the individual to figure out which side of the political aisle he leaned on. And this is the paradigm we are looking at these things because we are in a period of a lot of violence. Now, in the same breath as that attack on the church, there was actually multiple other attacks that occurred around the same time frame. You had one that is most notably linked with this one because it happened within 12 hours of it, because they were both former Iraq and Iran war veterans, both served in the Marines, ultimately different positions. One of them is ultimately, I would chalk it up to be a bat case. The one has a lot more pieces moving to it, and we'll explore that. And with that, there's a battle of Photoshop going back and forth between particularly one image that is being shared still from a community Facebook page pertaining to their son, his son, that was tracking his child's journey. And they're using this photo because this photo was posted back in 2019, which it does show that this man, this individual, was wearing a pro-Trump t-shirt. So this is why this matters. This matters because we are right off the coattails of the Charlie Kirk assassination, and we still don't have answers to that still. And so many people, and I can't blame them, a lot of this does look like it is a direct counter to what we saw from the violence pertaining to Charlie Kirk. So a lot being said there, but to go back to the top and what's going on, we have that. We'll take a look at both of those particular attacks since they happen within 12 hours of each other. I have a few details, again, I'll kind of share, and we're going to go against the mainstream conservatives. So be ready for that, and I'm sure I'll take flack for it. We also have Matt Walsh and Glenn Greenwald getting into it on the timeline, and again, over the same tried and true topic, which is that of Israel and Islam, but more so as it pertains to whose influence is worse. And this is kind of, again, the running theme of the political environment. We'll explore that a little bit. And the reason why I think it's a bit more newsworthy is because, in fact, at 7 p.m. here in a little bit, Nick Fuentes will be joining Glenn Greenwald on Glenn Greenwald's show at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Where's the rag of dew? Yeah, the do-rag is probably not, it just didn't look good with the suit. And this is kind of when I realized too as well, it's like, the issue for most guys isn't that you're bald, it's that you're just ugly. Like, I'm just bald. I'm messing. Yeah, you can do whatever to the robot mods. It doesn't matter. It's here because I use some stuff with Stream Elements, so it always catches on to the to the chat and different elements of that there too. I'm going to be honest, I think the big thing with all of this, and I'll say this now before we explore some of the things that's making me think this, I think we are directly on the path of civil war, and I do think it's becoming a lot more inevitable than I would like it to be. And I think that's both paired with the fact that I don't think there is a solution to the current problem going on. At the same time, I don't think the administration even has the appetite to do what would need to be done to begin to, walk back some of these things. My hair did get ethnically cleansed. My hair was Palestinian. That's a good one. And and with that too, we have Netanyahu visited Trump earlier today. They have a peace deal on the table. Supposedly that's what they're pushing for. Trump basically laid out his final line, or his ultimatum, which is that here's the deal, and if Hamas doesn't agree to it, then Israel basically gets full send. They can do whatever they want. I believe the line used was can finish the job. I think that was the direct quote they used there. We have a little bit more on Charlie Kirk. Candace Owens went live shortly before me. She posited a few things. Nothing too crazy, nothing too, big beyond that. Cowboy hat. I do have a cowboy hat, or it's just kind of a straw hat. I'll put it on here in a second. And we have more on Breland Hollyhand, Chief Trumpster, and a few others, actually, not even, in the Groiper space, if you will, kind of went to bat with a lot of what we were seeing from him and the lies and the grifting that was going on. Now, we obviously already knew the grift as it is, like the pro-Israel kind of bent, but even more so than that, even TPUSA is going, we don't know who this guy is. Like, he didn't have our blessing. And so we'll explore some of that. We also have the fact that Christian identity is supposedly being coined by the ADL as like a sign of extremism or terror, and it just keeps getting worse, man. And we have some general just ridiculous reactions from the left. We'll go through a few of those as well. It's stemming from Don Lemon to Scott Wiener to a few of these other individuals who are just awful people at the end of the day. Let me put this cowboy hat on. This isn't much of a cowboy hat, as much as it's like an Amish hat. Although I'd have to adjust this. But I can't see, if I put my head there, I can't see anything. Maybe at a later date, at a better time. we will do that. Yeah, hillbilly redneck. Yeah, it's a lot more redneck than it is anything else, to be honest with you. So let's start there. The big story today, or the big story following off the heels of what occurred yesterday, is the fact that there was an attack on a church of Latter-day Saints in Michigan, and it occurred in Grand Blanc, Michigan. And so the guy was identified as Thomas Jacob Sanford. Dang, people. Is that funny? So he was identified as Thomas Jacob Sanford. He was a U.S. Marine. He was deployed, and he joined in 2004. He was deployed around 2007 to 2008 for about a 7-month stint, but it was during some of the peak of the conflict there. Ultimately, he rammed his silver, truck into the side of the church. And the unfortunate aspect was, I thought that he had simply rammed it in and exploded. When I looked into it, it turns out, no, that wasn't the case. He actually rammed it into the front doors, got out with a rifle, gunned people down for 8 straight minutes before the police arrived. The police put him down, and in that 8-minute window, he had somehow, in some way, poured petroleum or some other, element all over the church and then set it ablaze. And now you can see the video of the church, zooming out and watching over it. So this actually caused the administration and all of the apparatchiks who are close to that, including Benny Johnson, Caroline Leavitt, many others in that frame. I think Nick Sortor actually held back a little bit, so I'm going to keep him out of that group. But many of them went immediately with the motive of, this is an attack on Christianity. Well, 2 things there right off the bat. Just even inside the Christian space, I think many of us, including myself, I would argue that I would not say Mormons are Christian. Now, this goes a bit into the weeds some, but I do think it does matter in relevance to this, right? Because a lot of Christians, especially those in our space, would not claim Mormons as being Christian. We would say like they're one of us in terms of more than likely going to be on the right-hand side of conservative values, like socially. But I do think there's some level of relevance there. Ultimately, how much of relevance, maybe that can be determined at a later date. But the reason why is there's a lot of between the FBI coming out and saying they know it was a targeted attack, but they didn't reveal details. And also, there have been statements from people inside the community. I believe somebody from the city council and another individual, a Democrat, both said that they won while they were canvassing. And the second one, I believe in just at a meeting or out in public, both of them had interactions with him. And both of them did recount and recall that he had extreme anti-Mormon views. And one person in particular saying that he called Mormons the Antichrist. And that we do have a clip of. We can get into that. So the administration treats this as an attack on Christianity. And I think most of us, I mean, including myself, I'm kind of like, again, like that's what it looks like. Don't get me wrong. It clearly looks like that. But then I realized there was a Mormon church and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, still, maybe possibly, someone could be like just dumb. Maybe they don't know the faith. They don't know. And they just see a church and they attack it. That's true. And then we get more details and that's starting to make the motive a bit more unclear. Beyond that, though, this does cause all the finger pointing. And so they begin scouring the physical and the digital footprint of who this individual is, because the left wants to be able to say, hey, this is a MAGA, this guy's MAGA. And to that point as well, when you see images of the truck has like two massive American flags on the backside of it. And all the appearances, former military, all of it. I mean, just by itself, ostensibly, it appears like that is a MAGA supporter. He has all of the kind of like the visual attributes you would expect of somebody who's MAGA. At least it appears that way. And that's not like a for all or an absolute, but it clearly does have the appearances of that. And so one of the first things that's being pushed is that he had Trump signage in his yard. Now, this has some nuance in there. So, and the reason why it has some nuance, and it's being, and I pulled a lot of this from The Guardian, but the reason why it has nuance is because it was pulled from Google Earth. So the image that we have was pulled from Google Earth, and I'm not sure exactly what year it was. I don't know if I had said that from The Guardian, but I believe it was from like a year ago. So it's recent. And when they find this photo, for one, it's legible enough to the point that you can make out that you can see Trump is on it. And let me see if I can find that. I'll put the photo up on screen actually so you guys can see it. So you can see what I'm talking about, if you will. So let me go to The Guardian. Hopefully they won't annihilate me. I appreciate that, Hutch. Thank you very much. And so if I zoom in here, and so this is like the best I can even do for you guys. You can see on the left-hand side there by the stop sign to the left-hand side of this trailer, there is a Trump sign. Now, this is like the clearest quality visual that they can get from it, at least from what I've seen. And you can clearly make it out as a Trump sign, but I can't tell if it's Pence or says Vance. And they're both five-letter words that are similar. The posit that people have put out, though, in fact, is that that's a stop Trump sign. That's the language being used. Now, for all, intents and purposes, perhaps that's what the point of this sign was. For me to believe that, I would need to see someone from the family say that's what that sign was. Because you would need to know. It's kind of like an inside joke, right? It's like he just has a sign there. So on first glance, it looks like that. But if the stop sign's meant to be a part of that message there, I think it kind of changes a little bit. That changes that narrative. So that's kind of the first big element most people are pointing at, is he had Trump signage in his yard. Now, what you do have is you have a lot of Republicans saying he had a stop Trump sign in his yard. And then if you go to places like The Guardian and most other like mainstream services, they will just say, somewhere in here, he has just Trump signage in the yard. So two different ways to posit it, but both have two different meanings. And again, there's nuance there because, again, why is the stop sign the thing that's holding it up? I think that does need, a little bit to be looked at. But with the overwhelming amount of this being that this was not a photo given to somebody, it was pulled from Google Earth. So it was taken some time ago. So, you could say maybe Google planted it, but I think they would do a bit better job, cleaning that up a little bit. The second big element of this is, and the most important, and the reason in the visual and the thumbnail, is there's a photo of him from 2019 that's being shared. And again, this was pulled from, and I'm going to saving the name actually, because I want to avoid giving more attention to the child involved here. Because again, as I was digging and looking through all this, it made me feel the depravity of a journalist. Because as I'm looking through this material, I can feel like what it feels like to be one of these journalists who are looking at all these photos, like family members. Can I find something? Is he wearing a shirt here maybe that says something? And it just feels like a depraved to go through that, especially when the guy's like no longer with us, and obviously the family's probably hurting. But I did follow it to its end, and this is what I found. So take this with a grain of salt, because this is the most heavily contested aspect of this story. And I'll put it on screen here. So what you have is there's two different photos floating around. You have this one that's floating around that I will tell you, I believe this is the original. The second photo you have floating around is one where this Trump logo from the t-shirt is not present. So two different images floating around. And I'll give you the reasoning why I believe that this is correct. So on two sides. And so people are going to be upset about this. And here's why. So when I digged into it, you can still find this image on Facebook. Beyond finding it on Facebook, the original image was posted in 2019. So then you go, okay, well, maybe perhaps there's this old edit feature that perhaps maybe some years ago, they planned this back in, I believe it was like 2022. It was, maybe back in 2022, it was, it was switched then because this is a 4-year plot. The reality is the archive photo has been posted. And actually, let me find that, because I'm not sure if I have that one here, but I'll show you the archive here. Let me put it on screen here. I got to refresh this. So obviously all the conservatives, and this is who I actually saw it from. It was somebody responding to Orrin McIntyre, because all of the different individuals are posing that this is, it's Photoshopped. And of course they would be, because that's the first thing you would think of, given the fact that Tyler Robinson did it themselves. I don't know why Orrin McIntyre is not popping up here. And this is why I want to show you this, is because the best image I can put on screen for you is this one. The Trump photo. Where is the Trump photo? Apologies, guys. This is probably the one element I probably should have been a bit better at. Maybe did he delete that image? Okay, well, anyways, we're not going to waste time in here. I'm going to just pull up the image that I have. See if I can do that here. Let me do window capture again. I apologize, guys, because I was really hoping that Orrin McIntyre wouldn't delete the tweet, but now that he's deleted it, I'm assuming he's realizing that this is actually Photoshopped. Okay, regardless, someone can find it if he didn't delete it already. The point being is the top comment to Orrin McIntyre was the cached image of the archive from 2019. So it had the metadata on there showing that it's not been updated, that was posted in September of 2019 on the community page for their son, because they were tracking their son's health journey, because the son had some like HIC insulin medical crisis. So they were tracking the journey. It's called Brantley's Journey. So I have the link to the Facebook, actually. Let's just do this. There we go. Lord have mercy. You can find it as much as you want to here on Facebook. It's on Brantley's Journey. That's the name. This is the photo. This is where it's at. And so the reason why I switched over of opinion, because I was on the fence here. Here's this one. Right? This is the one that's being floated around. The only issue is on this one, if you look up closer to it, you can find that the blue has not been completely photoshopped off of the image. So if you zoom in, there's a clearer one, but if you just zoom in on this one here, you can see it. There's blue still on the side of his shirt here. So if you zoom in right here, there's still blue left over. Now there was a bit better photos that had kind of highlighted this. Let me get rid of this one. Somebody was in the comments here did a better job than I did. Showing. There we go. So many people probably still sit there and go, it can be subjective. Sure. I'm sure there's probably going to be a lot more, effort focused in on, on zooming in on this specific image. But from all intents and purposes, from what I see, I do believe the camouflage photo with no logo is the photoshopped photo. And that's what and truth be told, I wish I would have bookmarked the Aaron McIntyre photo, because the guy who responded to him had the archive link. Now I'm mad that I didn't bookmark that one. But I believe that, yeah, I'm assuming that Aaron McIntyre did delete it. It's bothering me because, yeah, okay, he did delete the tweet. There we go. Thought so. Orrin McIntyre says, I'm seeing a large number of accounts claiming that the Mormon church shooter had a Trump picture on his t-shirt edited into his photo, and then a large number saying that was edited out of his photo. I have no idea which is true at this point, so I deleted the tweet. So did 9mm SMG, because he posted it as well. So take that for what you will. I'm of the belief that the one that the conservatives were sharing, I'm of the belief that this one's the real one. The one that's on his Facebook, I have a belief that this is the real one. Because if it's not, then we have to entertain two different theories. We have to entertain that either this was like a 6 or 7 year plan in the making, right? Because this isn't a screenshot, right? I'm on Facebook. Yeah, I can go through the comments right here. This photo's still available. So this is, and the point that people are making, let me see if I can open this in a new tab. We'll zoom in. So this is some of the points people are making about this t-shirt here. Some of the points they're making about this t-shirt is, if you notice here, it's going to piss me off. It's going to piss me off if it doesn't zoom into the one spot I need it to. If you notice here in the middle, around Trump's face, that seems artifacted. That seems, and there we go. Thank you for that, Myrmidon. You can't find that shirt in camo, in which people have said that you can find the PNGs, you can find the different logos, and you can simply make your own versions of it, right? So obviously, if you wanted to sell your own t-shirts, make your own Trump material, you would have to do something to break up the original content ID of the image. So maybe there's something of that going on here, but that is suspicious, because if you look at the original image, the one that everyone's saying here from all of this is the, forgive me, from this is clearly not the original logo from the ones that you can find, and I believe black and gray from the official Trump websites. So there's two of those. Here's the thing is, and I know people will probably disagree with me. Yeah, Team with Trump shirt. I mean, at this point, it's like, so the FBI had access to this individual's, at this point, it's like, then does the FBI have access then to the archive? So if the FBI has access to the Internet archives, and what else could you believe then? Everything has become subjective. Because if we can't even believe in the cache archive, and that's why I'm so bothered. I think I remember the name of the account. I wish I remember the name of it. Man, that bothers me so much. I wish I would have just taken, I'm going to start taking screenshots of everything now, because everybody just constantly deletes their stuff. So that's the thing then. So I'm on Facebook right now, right? On Facebook right now. This is the image that's here. So, yeah, use Wayback. Well, here's the thing is, I just don't know how to use archive on Facebook. But regardless, here's the thing. I don't even need to. You guys can as well. That's where the guy got the Photoshop from earlier. And that's what I am positing. I'm positing that this is the real photo. If it's not, then we got to entertain the fact that the FBI has been planning this attack on this Mormon Church of the Latter-day Saints for the last 6 or 7 years. And then additionally, if it wasn't that, the secondary theory is, were they able in a back end, were they able to get on the back end of Facebook and replace that photo with a Photoshop photo? And, and all of those together, it's like, again, using Occam's razor, maybe that's not even the right thing to be using anymore. Why does my voice sound black? What a crazy comment in the middle of all this. That's my belief. And maybe you guys feel differently, but there's no, it goes too beyond the pale for myself to go, is this actually did the FBI Photoshop this? Make sure they planted it not even on his personal Facebook page, but also to simultaneously plant it on the community page that was linked to a GoFundMe to help their son who was dealing with insulin issues. It's like, maybe. But my thing is also, like, I'm not convinced in the slightest that our side wouldn't do something either. I'm not convinced of that entirely at all. But taken to the fact too that this guy was dealing with a lot of, mental instability. Not publicly though. That was the thing. And so some people, if you talk to them that were close to him, like his neighbors, say he was like a stand-up guy. Seemed like it came out of nowhere. But now it seems like there's a Facebook post being uncovered from a couple of days ago from his mother that is a little bit cryptic, but it seems like she's subtweeting almost about an argument that she had with somebody and how exhausting it is because they don't listen. People are seeming to make that out to be like it is about this individual in question, Mr. Thomas Jacob Sanford. And then that goes to one of the third elements beyond the photo there, which is that the FBI announced themselves, but without giving any details, that they do know it's a targeted attack. So that then lines itself up to be, if they know it's a targeted attack, then he had to have had somewhere, whether it was plans to do this or that it was like, he had all this like verbatim explicit stuff saying, I don't like Mormons or whatever. I want to do this to a Mormon church, yada, yada, beyond there. And that's coming from the fact that we even have more of this here. I alter my voice. It's crazy what people tell themselves, man. I record myself on phone. I record myself in the car. I could record myself with a fucking xylophone and there will still be these like sad, just like, I can't do it, bro. Whatever. The Detroit Free Press also reported that Sanford had said negative things about Mormons to a local candidate for city council, calling the religion, quote, the Antichrist. So this we do have a clip of, and this was actually polled by Benny Johnson not too long before I was getting ready to go. So I'm glad he had this clip. Makes it a bit easier for me. So the breaking update says just days prior to the LDS church attack in Grand Blanc, Michigan, the shooter Thomas Sanford reportedly described Mormonism as the Antichrist during a conversation with the city council candidate. Couldn't speak. Forgive me. That's funny. 5 are confirmed dead, 8 others injured. So it's about a minute and a half long, and here it is.
Make the statement that Mormons are the Antichrist, which is a shocking statement. And again, this is somebody you're just meeting for the first time. There was anger. I mean, it was a long-standing anger that I'm speculating, but what he did took planning. It also took real motivation and real anger to ultimately do what he did.
And now John's in that. He said that there was nothing in that conversation besides some elevated language, some pointed language towards the LDS community here. He said nothing rose to the level where he felt he needed to report that conversation. Now,
and that's basically the gist of it from no intent. So they're saying all this. He had all these thoughts and feelings, but the people that they actually legitimately talked to also said, like, he said it kind of just like, just talking point wise. He didn't say it in a way that made me feel like he was going to do something. So you're getting that from the people who he even disagreed with, not only just the disagreements, but his neighbors as well. So, this could be a case of someone who was quietly struggling at a very quiet, desperate struggle. And that seems to be how it goes for a lot of men, is they just hide it, they cover it up, they avoid it, they don't talk about it. Or it goes the other way, which is a lot more similar to what we get from the second individual who actually had committed an atrocity, an attack in North Carolina about 12 hours prior in the night on Saturday, as this attack happened on Sunday while there was church service going on. It was around like 10:25 in the morning is when the attack happened in Michigan yesterday. And beyond that, so that's one of them. And then there's a secondary element too, where Democratic consultant Mark Grebner told the Bridge, Michigan News that Sanford had signed 2 political petitions. One of them was to repeal some of the emergency pandemic powers. They wanted to get those out of Michigan that, Whitmer had brought along with her. And then the other element is that he wanted to push to restrict abortion in the state. So both of those are petitions that he signed that would make it seem that those are values that someone in MAGA would also hold. So there's that too. The reason why it's difficult in Michigan in particular is because Michigan has open primaries. So that means you can vote in a primary without needing to have the correct political preference or affiliation. And so the voter records of this individual will show you basically nothing. It'll show you who he's voted for. And there's also a few other pieces that have been floating around. One of them has been already debunked. One of them was showing some donations to Act Blue, another organization's affiliate like that with Democrats, but it's just the same name, entirely different person. So hopefully that can get cleaned up a little bit as well too. And some of the more newer stuff, actually a little bit before I went live a few hours ago, about around like 3 p.m. or so, there's a 21-year-old male with a rifle who charged the police barricade there at Grand Blanc, Michigan. And so this was reported by, I believe, Jack Unheard. I think that's who I had grabbed this from. It seems a little just insane, but there's a photo attached to this as well. So you can see he's being arrested here at the barricade. Curious what this all may be. Now, this kind of does give me elements of a psyop, like just another random lone wolf kid just showing up. I'm sure we'll have more details on that, but it is a little disturbing, if you will, as we continue to get that. And, so take that for what you will. That's kind of a large portion of what we know about this individual. So take it with a breath of salt. I think the most tangible elements, in fact, are, the Google Earth sign, right? Of like pulled from his house. And I'm sure we can get more photos of that. The shirt thing, I would imagine, is going to be argued about quite a bit. I hopefully we can get some people on there who can actually explore and see the artifacts and see the edits, because the same thing's happening from from October 7th. If you run it in one program, it'll say this seems like it's modified. If you run it through another program, it says this seems like it's not modified. This seems like a real image. So, who knows with that? And, we ended up getting our answer from October 7th, that it turns out those images were photoshopped. They were like halfway made in like AI imagery, but then juxtaposed onto real images. So it was like a bit of both, causing some confusion. So again, to explore that story to what it is, and its relevancy is the fact that the left is looking at this as it is the counterattack. This was the response for what happened to Charlie Kirk. And, so let's think through that. Why would that be? Why would they think that? Well, for one, for the average leftist, they see an American flag and a veteran, they automatically assume MAGA. And I think that's kind of telling on the left a little bit, in the fact that they see a guy with an American flag, camouflage, and someone who went and did a tour in Iraq for this country, and they go, wow, this guy must not have the same values as me. It's a little odd, if you will. But they also, they need him to be. They need the playing field to be equalized, because if we just continue going through bouts of violence only occurring from one side, it's going to be very, very easy and politically expedient for the rest of everybody to go along with, okay, let's restrict this one side. The second element is the obvious aspect, which is the Mormon church, right? Tyler Robinson coming from this specific community over there in Utah. This attack on the church kind of has very strong connections there. But I will say I do find this to be a far cry, because why take it out on just Mormons there in Michigan? Why would you not, take a trip out to Utah? There's a lot of questions there, but that is the battle right now. The information battle is, whose guy is this? Whose side is he on? Whose side is he really on? Because this matters when in the broader, more larger, robust conversation of political violence. And that extends itself into the secondary attack, which ultimately doesn't need that much coverage, in my opinion, because the more I looked into it, the more it did appear that this individual was a bad case. This guy was very, very, very much a bad case. And unfortunately so, both of these are actually sad stories as you kind of sift through them. And I got to be honest, I have to take the blazer off. It's getting too hot in here. I'm going to have to stand up. It's going to be uncomfortable. Whew. All right. Lord have mercy, it's getting hot in here. Okay, anyways. I probably should have hung that up. Anyways. Back to where I was at. The other attack happened about 12 hours prior, and it was notable because this is now two basic, mass shootings or mass attacks, atrocities, if you will, that have now occurred in a matter of time. This is, if now two of them in 12 hours. And even beyond that, they're both veterans. They both have all of the makings of, this seems like it probably is a MAGA supporter. And I'll be honest, I have friends, friends that I'm close to that are in the creator space, but we don't get along at all politically. It's not to say we argue with each other all the time, but we don't agree on a lot of things. And there was a couple of them that also felt like this is obvious. The motivation here is obvious. Like that's what they're seeing and taking from this. And I do think that is what's the word? I would say that's an easy inference on the first one. The second one, I think that's a far cry. It's a stretch given what we know from it. The Thomas Jacob Sanford, the attack in Michigan on the Mormon Church, though, I do think has a bit more questions to it. And obviously, if the Photoshop is an FBI kind of plant on a Facebook page for a child, then we have some real serious problems. So, we'll need to actually look at that. But for the second one, the attacker in the second case, this happened in North Carolina. The guy's name, or second name, I should say, is Nigel Max Farage, or Nigel Max Edge. Forgive me, I'm mixing it up because it's not even his real name. But this was basically a drive-by. It was a drive-by from a boat. And it's reported that it was extremely targeted. So he basically fired from a small boat. He pulled up to a docks where they had an open restaurant. I believe it's the American Fish Company bar there in Southport. And he opened fired from a boat, attacking. They said it's targeted. I'm not sure who has been targeted. At least it's not been reported who he is targeting. But he did kill 3 people. He wounded 5, and then he drove off. And they are saying it's premeditated. And so essentially, as it reads, it's just a drive-by. Maybe he was targeting a specific person, and then he dipped out. And then from there, again, both of these guys are veterans, and they're both Marines. The issue with Nigel, though, is he's not the kind of quiet sufferer. He's, in fact, the opposite. He's very, very, very out in the public. So for Nigel Edge, it was very publicly known that he was dealing with issues from both schizophrenia as well as just general, brain injury trauma. And the brain injury trauma, supposedly, and there's photos that make it look very much like it's true, is that he was shot in the head while he was overseas. And the photo of his head and the scar of it makes you go, okay, that seems like that's the case, as well as his actions do, but I don't know if it's been confirmed that was a legitimate thing. So he was charged with, and he was caught eventually, but he's being charged with 3 counts of first degree murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, 5 counts of assault with a deadly weapon. I mean, they're throwing the entire book at him, and good, because he deserves it. But who is he? And so supposedly he was a resident in this area around Oak Island for, several years. And this is where you begin to go, okay, he definitely was a bad case. This guy filed basically 6 lawsuits against people every single year. He would file them against the police department. He would file them against, random people. He would file them against the town. He'd file them against the mayor. And so some of the ones that he had here, as I was looking through them, in 2025, he filed more than a dozen alone in 1 year. And one of them was against an American Idol contestant. And he said that this American Idol contestant, her name was Kelly Pickler. He said that she poisoned him. I mean, no. Okay. No. And then, so Murmur says he heard he was in a bar and they kicked him out. Okay. Interesting. But yeah, the area you can see, you can definitely see that you can pull up and dock these smaller boats there. So you have this lawsuit that he files against this American Idol chick. And then you see that he has a lot of lawsuits filed against the VA, the Department of Veteran Affairs, right? It's clear that he's angry, right? And a lot of these lawsuits, he's alleging that, they cause him physical and psychological damage. And, a lot of that, I hear a lot of that too. I was formerly in a Discord with a lot of people who were, veterans and, had served in different areas. And they've also spoken at great length of all of their issues with the VA and, just how difficult it is and how poorly ran it is and just how much of a joke it is to, honestly get any kind of level of help there. And one in particular that's really drawing attention is because it has some kind of political bent to it. Although I think when you read it, you go, okay, never mind. This guy's just insane. And that is the one specific lawsuit that's getting a lot of attention is the fact that he filed it against the Novant Health Brunswick Medical Center. But the judge dismissed it like they've dismissed every single one that he's filed. But Nigel alleged that the care he received was, quote, on par with attempted murder, and that they tried to kill him because they found out he, again, quote, survived an uninitiated, horrendous hate crime by the LGBTQ white supremacists, and the hospital is trying to finish him off. So there's that. so there's that. What even is an LGBTQ white supremacist? I have no idea. But it becomes clear the more and more you read into this guy. It's like he's just insane. He has no idea what's going on. He's severely damaged. He probably needs a lot of help that he wasn't getting, and ultimately he probably just snapped eventually, and that's what happened. But it was because it had the language specifically that LGBTQ white supremacist that's why it's being looked at a greater degree. Ultimately, though, that lawsuit is like not relevant to, so as far as what they can tell, it's like not relevant by any means to the attack on the what is it called, the American Fishing Company bar. So, and his real name is actually Sean Debevoise. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it correctly, but yeah, Sean Debevoise was the real name. And so he, as far as I understand, is still alive. He's just in custody and being processed right now. Thomas, the individual who had the attack on the church, he was killed by police, actually. He was killed at around 10:31 in the morning, shortly after the police had arrived there. Like 10:33 in the morning. It'd been a minute since I'd seen it. But so that's the two. And those are the two kind of big ones explored. There was a couple other smaller ones, but they didn't seemingly have as much kind of political weight to them. But the two former military individuals obviously does. The one seemingly being insane, the other, Thomas Jacob Sanford, seeming to be very on the fence. Like this one's got kind of a bit more difficult to explore. And so we'd have a couple kind of the Trump artifacts, but it's hard to really make a strong opinion until we know more, until we can kind of crack open a bit more. And I think a lot will probably depend on that photo as well. And and it's not to say like I'm like, well, the FBI can't do these things. I'm just saying, yeah, they can. I'm just saying, Occam's razor would say the amount of assumptions you have to make, or things you have to throw out there for it to be the FBI to have done something like this 6 years and all this and for what purpose and what motive. I think it gets very, very muddy and it begins to get harder and harder to believe. But sure, I'll sit here with an open mind and say like, yeah, if someone can prove that indeed the Trump one is Photoshopped, then I'll say, yeah, I was wrong. Like, but again, I'm not a video expert. I'm just saying from what I can see right now, it does appear to be that he was in fact, like at some point, was a Trump supporter. But how much of a supporter was he, and how much of it did that lead into his choice to do what he did? We don't know. And how could you? Because a lot of his stuff's already been scrubbed, and the only reason we even have the photo is not from his own Facebook; it's from his child's Facebook. So and again, you got to take a lot of this with a grain of salt, because Titan is spot on. He said this earlier. I don't know if he's in here now. Everything is basically a psyop now at this point. And so, with every sentence, you have to sit there and go, is this real? Is this real? Is this real? Every new piece of information, is this real? Who did I hear the information from? What would they have to gain by telling me this information? It sucks, but like that is how you basically have to parse through information anymore. Is what does this person have to gain by telling me this? Are they being paid in any way for this? Yeah, it's real. I literally thought of that as I was saying that. And so it's on that note that I say this is clearly a lot of violence has been picking up. I've seen a great amount, on the timeline, even like some of these more smaller instances. And I just got to go, man, it feels inevitable. And the reason why I feel it's inevitable is because I think there's like these two big barriers. I think one, like we saw with the way that the Trump administration was going to handle all the violence from trans people was, well, instead of being explicit, we're going to again, kind of waffle back and forth. And we'll say, nihilistic violent extremists. It's like, please just say what the problem is. You have mentally ill people who are just as capable as you and I of purchasing a firearm and training with it. And we know they belong on the DS5. They belong in some kind of category with some tag of not fit for civil society. And the other side of that, beyond the Trump admin not doing anything or even replace it with any kind of administration, I just don't think there is enough men with balls to do those things required. The other element is even in the more civil side of the space, I don't know if people have it inside them to do it. I mean, and I think this is kind of evidenced a little bit by the fact of when we had some of the people going, hey, why don't we fire them for, celebrating and dancing on the grave of Charlie Kirk? People were like, well, come on. Well, hold on a little bit. We don't want to do the same thing the left did. And it's like, we're not doing the same thing the left did. We're just trying to, there needs to be a cost. You can't openly celebrate while the body's still warm. There needs to be a cost for that. Not legally, like throw them in jail, but dude, the employer should definitely get rid of them. I don't think there should be legal consequences. I don't believe in hate speech or anything of the line, but again, this whole world is literally built around an incentive structure. It's built around cost and benefit and revenue, all of this. It's built around that. It's built around what can you do for me? To lose sight of that is, to be ignorant, to be honest with you. And so here is down all of this, right? In this line is what we get from all of this is more words. More words. And so what I mean by that is heartbreaking story. And we've seen so many of these, but a heartbreaking story, and Colin Rugg covered this a little bit, and we're going to watch this father kind of, unleash for about 5 minutes. But this, and it's not to say, let me walk back. The story is a 22-year-old girl was basically pulled from her bed while she was sleeping in it and shot and killed by a person who has like 400 bajillion felonies. And what we're about to watch is 5 straight minutes of the father unleashing on the people who were there listening to him. And I didn't even know who he's speaking in front of, to be honest with you. I think it's a House hearing, actually, about crime policies. And the reason why I find this to be, I'm heartbroken for him and I'm saddened with him, but why I take this as more of the same and ultimately it means nothing is because how many years have people been weeping at the steps of the city council saying, hey, my child this, hey, my child this, hey, like we're getting, hopefully we're getting to the point people are beginning to realize like none of this like literally matters because there's no amount of persuasion that helps because the person on the other side of the aisle, their end goal is that you don't exist. There's no compromise with these people, dude. So until anyone can get that around, I don't know what we're doing, wasting our time, crying and opening our hearts to people who are quite frankly probably enjoying it and getting off on the fact that he's sitting there, crying and weeping about his daughter being dead. So let's explore this in a little bit. It's 5 minutes of this man losing his mind. Well, I'd say losing his mind. He's getting pretty upset. And it's unfortunate.
How many of y'all have kids? I'm just curious. Here's what I need you to do. When I tell you this story, think about your kids. Think about your child coming home from a night out with their friends, laying down, going to sleep, feeling somebody come in the room and wake them and drag her out of bed, naked, forced on her knees, with her hands over her head, begging for her life, begging for her hero, her father, me, that couldn't be there. She was 5'3". She weighed 115 pounds. Bang! Dead. Gone. Why? Because Alexander Devontae Dickey, who was arrested 39 goddamn times, 25 felonies, was on the street. How about that?
I mean, that's the part that I'm telling you, if you cannot get it through your head that the way they view you as a white Christian male or as just a white Christian person, even sometimes more loosely for a lot of people, just more broadly, a conservative individual, you have got to get it through your head that they want to exterminate you. No one is coming to save you. And what saddens me the most is watching men continually exhaust the options. Do you guys, when is Jeff Younger going to get his son back? You think it's going to be before or after he's castrated? Or maybe never. Maybe he has to wait until they're 18. This guy will never get his daughter back. You watch as Jeff Younger being this man who exhausted literally every single available civil, peaceful option that he had in front of him, as church after GOP after GOP after regional Republican office sat there and closed their doors and turned their back on him. Nobody is coming to save you. And if the end goal of all this really amounts to be, after you lose your child, is all you'll really get is a 5-minute flash in the pan of a feel-good, talk down to city council, it's just... It saddens me because this isn't the answer, and this is clearly not the solution. And if any ounce of this worked, it would have worked years ago. And so, because it didn't work years ago, I doubt it's going to work now. And that's the part I think it really does bother me. Not in the sense of like, I'm mad at this guy. Like, what are you doing? Like, of course, like, what do you expect he's going to do? Man, he just lost his daughter. He's angry. He's mad. He's probably not slept in 2 days. But what does yelling at city council do? You think that those same people who have access to X and the news, the same as you who walk through life, they have eyes and ears and a nose and a mouth, same as you, and you think they're not privy to these things? They've just magically went their whole life and they have no idea about all of the immigrants here who rape, steal, pillage, destroy Western values. They just have no idea. I really don't know what the solution is, to be honest with you, because all I can really think about is like, what if that was my daughter? Am I going to sadly, drudge I'm going to get dressed the next day and slowly walk up the steps, and I'm going to really give it to city council this time. I can't even fathom that. I would, for my safety and everyone else's safety, I'd have to like probably get locked into a metal box for like 3 days. And that's the truth, right? Maybe not arrest him 39 times, right? Yeah, maybe arrest him once and put him in prison and put him behind bars where the guy belongs. But that's the issue, is why are career criminals not going to prison for very long? Well, we don't want to be racist, guys. What greater sin on planet Earth could you commit besides, even for a second, possibly even for a millisecond, being confused for being a racist? This is one of those that's like, maybe it would have done better streaming this on Rumble. There's a lot of things that I'm not going to say because I don't want to encourage it. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. Tactical dish soap. You're right. I don't even know if they have a word in a dictionary for what I think that I would do if that was my daughter. I'm definitely not going to city council and pleading in front of 3 fat pigs, a guy who's, committing larceny or committing money laundering, and then the other guy who got voted in, just last week. It's just like at a certain point you go like, what are we doing here? Right? Like, to me, it's like, what's the point, man? Like, what's the point of when I see Alex Stein doing all of what he does, at a certain point you're like, what is he doing, man? Like, that's not gonna change the minds of Mrs. Gordita Crunch, Mrs. 418 pound, the swine that's sitting up at the office who got her job handed to her because she fit the bill of a person of color. But I mean, it's true. I mean, and this is the thing. This is the reason why I'm not a MAGA. The reason why I'm not MAGA. This is the reason why I don't call myself Republican, is because the Republicans refuse to make, again, the 13% accountable. They refuse to interact with facts how they should. It's everything's logical until race is involved. The moment race is involved, oh. They want to sit there and talk shit about the left and the left-wing party for telling you not to believe your lying eyes about all of what's going on. When it's like, okay, well, you guys need to, come on, flip the bill, man. Times to believe our eyes now. You know, that principle shouldn't be flying out the window the moment a black person's involved. And, you know, then I know there's people in the chat and my subscribers who are black, and, you know, and it does kind of suck at the end of the day, which is like, you know, there's plenty of them here who I know are involved, and they're following Candace Owens, they're following Ian Carroll, you know, some of them follow Nick Fuentes, they listen to his clips, they know what's going on, they're with it, and I just have to throw them in that group because what the hell's going on, dog? Like, why are we still doing this? And then it kind of gets to that whole good cop, bad cop problem, which is like, okay, well, if there really were good cops, then there wouldn't be bad cops, right? That's kind of the whole point. Like the marker of being a good cop is that you don't let bad cops kind of do what they want. Like no one cares. Like I don't give a shit that you like confided into your wife that, oh man, like I think Dan's doing something really bad at the police department. Oh, okay, that's nice, honey. Okay, keep track of that. I don't care, bro. I just don't. You know, and they just refuse it, and I guess we'll just continue to live in this non-existent it's just delusion. You know, it's delusions on both sides. It's like the trans delusion, the race realist delusion. Like, I just, you know, and I'm trying not to feel burnout on a lot of this, and I'll be personal with you for a second. Like, it's times like this that really make me go, like, is this what I want to do? Is this what I want to do, man? Because it would be so much easier to just, I mean, do literally anything else. I would be honest with you. You know, like I'm going to wrap up shop, turn it over. You know what, guys? I'm doing movie reviews. Movie reviews with Atlas tomorrow, dude. Throw politics away. Throw it away right now, because I am a solution-oriented person. I am a no bullshit person. I am the personal trainer who tells you, no, you need to stop putting Twinkies and buns in your mouth hole. That's why you're fat, not because you have this magical thyroid issue that was just discovered and you're the only one that has it. Like, miss me with that. Anyways, I'm going on a rant too much. Halsey Turner says, the conservative movement was made of beautiful losers, being either rootless men attracted to archaic things or crypto liberals who sometimes resist progressive change before eventually caving in. Sam Francis. Right. And, you know, and that's kind of where it is, right? A lot of these conservatives are hand-tied. That's why the supposed heir to the throne for Charlie Kirk is Breland Hollyhand, who looks even gayer than Harry Sisson. Like, oh, that's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. And then it becomes like, it's clear. It's like, oh, no wonder why I don't like get any callback from the Daily Wire. You know, maybe I need to, maybe I need to go to the Middle East and like starve myself for like 3 months. I'll come back and I'll be skinny and gay enough looking to get an offer or something. No, just messing. Like I want an offer from the Daily Wire. But these are the bounds, right? So I'll put it back on screen. You know, like we need to watch it. You know, not even to make you go through it, but that's kind of the point. And he kind of rips into him for, you know, 3 straight more minutes of, you know, what was he doing? Why was this career criminal? You know what? Honestly, I'm not going to explain it. I'll let him talk. I'm not going to take his one moment away from him.
How good are we doing for our family? How good are you doing for your kids? He should have been in jail for over 140 years for all the crimes he committed. You know how much time he spent in prison? A little over 600 days in 10 years. He's only 30 years old. He was committing 2.65 crimes a year since he was 15 years old, but nobody could figure out that he couldn't be rehabilitated. Well, you'd have to put him in prison to see if he could be rehabilitated. Isn't that the idea of prison? But no. My daughter wanted to be a teacher. She finally figured it out 2 weeks before she was executed. And I haven't heard a damn word from Byron Gibson in South Carolina. Not one word.
And that's the other part that I did catch. This is now another instance happening there in the North and South Carolina area Irina Zarutsky, I always think I always pronounce that wrong. She was stabbed in the neck there in Charlotte. And then this instance there happening in South Carolina. Everybody knows it, right? The career criminals and, say the line, right? Young scholar or insert any other kind of, adjective they would use to define who that individual is. But that's kind of the point of the story this isn't going away, but the anger and unwillingness to tolerate it from white men in general is rising by the day. And so if we're at a point where it's clear that there's literally zero, appetite at all from anybody in any ounce of power, whether it's, state level, local level, federal level, and maybe there is, but it's not happening. So it doesn't matter how hungry you are. It's still at the end of the day, if nothing's happening. But on that same token, the average guy is getting more and more irritated. The average guy is like, this is another day I had an OnlyFans woman like shoved into my face. This is another day, I had some non come and like cut me in front at line, at Walmart. This is another day where I'm seeing something happen behind, this is another day where on my walk up to Walmart, 2 homeless people are having sexual relations 3 feet away from the entrance to the door. This is, it's not good. And I don't want it to go this way, but I mean, what do people expect? That we're going to stay in this we're going to stay in the stasis mode forever? That white men are just going to continue to be inundated constantly with interracial shit, constantly be told like, hey, whiteness is a problem, constantly be just shoved degeneracy, Christian values is being subverted left and right, and they're just going to take it until the end of time. And then like, what are we talking about? I mean, at a certain point, like if it's clear, like, things don't improve, like strategy is going to have to change. And I think it already is. I think we're already seeing the beginning of that. I think the momentum from the kind of meteoric rise in the alt-right, or the dissident right, rather, alt-right was kind of the first phase. Now we're dissident right. I think it's basically become solidified now at this point. And surely still have ways to kind of break it up, in terms of like mass censorship and stuff like that. I could probably be gone tomorrow if they wanted to. But the point is it's that anger and frustration is not going away. That awareness of what actually is going on has only gotten more and more, reached critical mass. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I had probably one of the best conversations I've had with one of my best friend. And I'll be honest with you, we talk about a lot of stuff, but we don't ever go deep into politics or anything, but we talk about a lot of stuff. I mean, he's my best friend. He's my best man at my wedding. And we started talking about the United States of Israel last night. And I would have never expected that to come out of his mouth. Now, maybe that's because I didn't have a strong finger on the pulse of what politics he was paying attention to. But that to me was like, I would have never expected him to say something along those lines. And that to me showed me it was like, we've broken critical mass. So the matter is, what are we going to do with that then? What are we going to do with everyone being aware of what actually is, with Jewish influence? What are we going to do? What are we going to do with that? You think we're all just going to shut up and go home? You think we're going to all just like keep walking away while Jonathan Greenblatt continues his constant attack on Christianity? Now, to be fair, the ADL has taken a lot of heat today because of their difference in definition between, Antifa and Christian nationalism, and good for that. Because they're outright straight up saying, Christian identity is like a basal cause for anti-Semitism. And that's separate and still also a part of, things on racial lines. And then we also have the aspect of the broken dating economy. I mean, it's clear and obvious to everyone paying attention, everything going on is unsustainable. And it really is only a matter of one of those kind of big pillars breaking down first. That's the thing, is like people just aren't going to tolerate it anymore. And that is the course of human history. I mean, people just rise up. They will rise up against their oppressors. That is the course of history. Now, the matter is like, how long will it be? How quick will it be? What will the response be from the oppressor versus those who are being oppressed? And I hate using that language, but that is by definition, like the typical path that it follows. Now, a lot of it times, it ends up that the resistance is quelled rather quickly, and it takes years and years to foment another one. And it also can take a bit more of guerrilla warfare takes as well too. And this is not me, game planning any of that. It's just me saying like it's right around the corner, and I don't see it stopping. So what do you want me to say? I mean, just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna take it forever. Okay, right. Well, I'll be right here next year while they continually take a woman out of their bedrooms and rape and kill them and shoot them for credit cards and go on shopping sprees. Like, no, sorry, like no. It's depressing, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's actually what's going to be the next point, Mr. Sunrise. It's like that seems to be like that's the two paths, and we can, will it be this full-on balkanization? Are we going to, follow in the footsteps of like Arval, and maybe not even just on racial lines, but just like have a stronger federation, even more so than states? Like states are even broken up even further into maybe counties. Like counties become a lot more, powerful in terms of like what they were compared to the state previously. Like, I don't know, but it's becoming clear and clear, like some concession will have to be made that these two ideologies will have to be separated from each other. And then even from there you go, well then even on racial lines, and what does it even look like, right? How do you have like a 1,000 different, factions that all have like slightly different iterations of them? And we see how that went for Protestantism. So to imagine like the governmental structure with even less of a moral foundation could fare any better is like, Lord have mercy, I have no idea how it's going to look. I really don't. But, to move on to some more topical news and less away from like the featured stuff here about the shootings. Supposedly Netanyahu visited today, had a meeting with Donald Trump, and it was largely again over, you guessed it, Israel and Gaza. So this is from what I understand. Because I was only paid attention to it loosely, and I just can't stand either of those guys talking for very long. I just can't do it. Sorry. I saw Nick made comments, and other people did too, that apparently Trump appeared a lot older and slower, and appeared like he's been losing a step. And I think that's been out for a minute. I brought up the zigzag video, right, which was, after he was walking back down and away from the tarmac when he had met with Putin, when they'd flown the bombers over top of him, doing the show of force. That on that time-lapse video, you can literally watch Donald Trump's like zigzagging. He can't walk in a straight line. Now, maybe it's because he's looking at the crowd or whatnot, but there's been a few other issues. And then you also have the health complications, right? The swelling in the hands and the ankles and the clear kind of, blood circulatory issues that he's dealing with. That's leading him to have, bruising and things like that. So, and he's 82 years old, like, of course, or 81 or 82. I can't remember which one it is. But it's clear he's old, man. Or he will be at the end of his term. He's old. He's an old man. But Steve Bannon, on a second point that I saw from Steve Bannon, supposedly there was no color guard that greeted Netanyahu today. I watched the video, and it did look like only one Marine was there to greet Netanyahu. Now Steve made that to seem like that was like to send a message, basically, that this is it's not a signatory or symbolic to an ally when there's no color guard. So maybe this is a show of force, a message, I guess, from Trump to be like, hey, you're on you're on uneven ground, buddy, or something along those lines. But it's hard to tell. I doubt Trump would do that. Maybe they just forgot or something else like that. But so here's one of the first things that we did get. One of the first things that we got was supposedly Trump made Netanyahu apologize to Qatar for the attack they had there, and I believe it's Doha. So I put that on screen here. That's from AF Post. That's one of the first things I saw from there. And it says that he forced the Israeli prime minister to apologize to Qatar. And supposedly that did kill a Qatari serviceman. And Netanyahu acknowledged violating Qatar's sovereignty, voiced deep regret, and promised Israel would not repeat such an attack. So, sure, okay. Seems like probably a lot of talking. I really wouldn't take him at his word, to be quite honest with you, at all. And so, what we have with this too is the follow-up from there. So we're getting into a bit more of the meat of the story with this one is that the AF Post, and I've seen a few others, is reporting that Hamas actually never agreed to the peace plan that Trump announced. But Trump did give Netanyahu his blessing to essentially finish the job if Hamas doesn't agree. So that's kind of like what we have going on here. So supposedly that this peace deal is meant like everybody will agree, everybody will be involved with this peace plan. But as it turns out, Hamas doesn't even know what the peace deal is. And if they don't accept it, Trump gives Israel's blessing to do whatever they want in the area. So, well, this is some great good faith negotiating going on here. Tactical Dish says that Zeb and Josh think Bibi is going to be on the way out to replace him and wash their hands. I agree, honestly. And truth be told, this seems to be a good move, right? Get Netanyahu out of there, get someone else in. It's honestly kind of surprising how long he's lasted, to be real. But, possibly there's a good chance of that. But the thing is nobody's really buying this peace plan. And this peace plan, again, was posted by the AF Post and a few others as well. I'll put it back on screen. It seems to be like a lot of talking. Looks like these lines are literally drawn by a toddler. But supposedly it's basically like a phased out plan of, how far is going to be the withdrawal from Israel out of this area, as long as each step being phased out, with blue line being the initial spot. Supposedly, once the hostages are released, they'll move out to this yellow line, and then some other kind of element will keep moving out. And I doubt it. I doubt this is going to happen. Even in the beginning, right? I doubt even the first step is taken towards that, to be honest with you. But that was supposedly what had happened today from that meeting. I'm sure we'll get more. Even Owen Schroyer had made a comment. What was his comment? Actually, I put it in here, didn't I? Owen Schroyer's been a streak here lately. He's been going off like crazy on a lot of different elements. But I'll put it on screen here, make it bigger for you. Well, really, it's just me. I'm blind. So Owen Schroyer says, in my view, the peace plan guarantees two things. One, there'll be another attack, false flag, stand down. And two, America will pay for the continued devastation of the region while getting nothing in return. Hope I'm wrong, but I really am. Plus, history repeats itself. And I got to be honest, given what we know about recently with what's going on there in Iran with the rising tensions and their unwillingness and the snapback sanctions, this almost kind of reads to me almost that they are basically they're saying like, hey, let's chill on this front, right? We're getting ready to go to war with Iran again. Let's cool the temp over here with Hamas and over here with Gaza. Cool it here so we don't have to worry about it over here as much, so we can fully focus on Iran. At least that's kind of like what it lines up to me as. If you were asking me my beautiful but bald face intellect, that's what it would be. I think this seems to be, because again, what was the takeaway from the 12-day war, the 14-day war the last time it happened? Was basically as long as it could last, just until it would have to escalate or de-escalate to like boots on the ground. They spent all of their missiles from all of their systems, and before you know it, both sides have like basically dropped like $1 bajillion million. And then it was shown too, and this is a secondary note, it showed how strenuous that would be on America's systems, because we were giving them so many missile heads. So I don't know. It makes it out to be, to me at least, of like, let's have singular focus, right? Gazans can wait. We'll pretend like we're playing nice and playing ball with them while we worry about sending intelligence operatives, and we begin to do more decapitation strikes there in Iran and completely decapitate them or cripple them, I should say. Beyond that, though, there was a good bit more about Charlie Kirk. This is going to be a topic that I don't think is going to leave us anytime soon. So I didn't make it featured. I didn't make it featured by any means, because I feel like at this point on the daily, we're just going to have new stuff roll in and very little to actually, actionable with it. So I'll just start knocking them through. One of the first things that we got, and I think Zeb and Josh actually covered this, that Candace Owens reporting, and I don't think I've seen anyone else report it, but Candace Owens reporting essentially that TPUSA supposedly was like losing money. It was losing more money than what it should have been. It didn't make sense. And so she basically alleges that Charlie Kirk was going to set up a kind of Doge-like department, if you will, for TPUSA to be better track, and audit the company to figure out, where is all this money going. And so we'll go ahead and listen to this from Candace, about a minute and a half long.
The money was disappearing. Allegedly, I'll say allegedly here, but I think we have some proof that shows that. And the excuses that he was being given for the money disappearing wasn't adding up for Charlie. Said another way, the math wasn't mathing, okay? He felt that, again, according to sources, that the company was burning through cash too quickly. And Charlie set about finding out why and how this was happening. So on September 2nd, which is, of course, just 1 week before he lost his life, Charlie surprised the company by announcing that he was putting together a Doge department. Yes, a department of government efficiency like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy had set out to do. Trump won. They got behind him, right? They said, hey, there's a lot of pork. We don't know where this money is going. People are just accepting checks. Again, this is the whole purpose of the Department of Doge. You put us in there and we're going to figure out how all of these bureaucrats are just wasting tax dollars. Really kind of a nice way of saying we're going to conduct an audit of the government.
So that's some of the latest from Candace. I do appreciate it, Lord of the Ree. Super chat in here, he says, if anyone still believes Candace, none of us are medically qualified to help them. Funny. And yeah, you know, a lot of people have been saying too, it seems almost like they're throwing bones to Candace to help salvage her credibility almost, seemingly like every new day. She has some new piece, some more unresolved stuff from the story. And you know, and I'm gonna be real. I think I caught Zeb saying this too, and I'm kind of in the same boat as well. Like, I don't like, there are certain like pundits, don't get me wrong, that like I literally think suck and like I can't stand them and like I'm not gonna listen to them. But I still think that there's people who are, as much as they might suck, I'll still listen to them because they got good spots and good things to say sometimes. So take that from what you will. But you know, I'm kind of in the same camp with Candace. I'll take anything from Candace if it's good and factual and reasonable. I'll take it. But if it's more of this, you know, when she's doing like the sex eyes to the camera and all that, it's like maybe you need to take a week off. You know, maybe you need to go be with your children, if you will, right? Maybe we should actually honor the patriarchy, right? Mrs. Good Christian wife Candace Owens. But and that's what we got. So I got a lot more from her camp on Charlie Kirk, and she let it be known that in fact actually Ian Carroll is conducting his own independent investigation, so he's not even working in tandem with her, and that may be on professional grounds, and maybe even for personal grounds, to be honest. And so some of the updates that we got from Tyler Robinson on the trial itself actually is that we got this bit from the judge here, but only a 20-second clip, and it's not like it's important to listen to, but the point is that they will be making it public. So the hearings will be public. I'm not sure if everything's going to be public, but the hearings will be. And the secondary element that we got with that too, as it was reported from, I believe, Posobiec and a few others, was that they were expecting, quote, a voluminous, I don't even know if that's the right word, a lot. They're expecting a lot of digital material to be dumped out and exhibited through this court case to go through. So there'll be a lot there. We got this from House Leotardo, who says, they say Richard Spencer and Nick Fuentes hug Republicans to discredit them. Candace is doing the same to the dissident right. And that's what a lot of this is. It's a lot of welcome to fifth generational warfare, where you can believe nobody. You're being lied to constantly. And heck, I'm AI. Everyone already believes that I'm AI. I'm actually a brown Indian man sitting somewhere in Delhi, hooked up to an AI with 18 different little magnets all over my body. I'm mimicking a white man. I'm actually like 2 feet away from a food truck vendor, like, or a street food vendor, I should say. I don't know, man. And that's part of the issue as well, which is like, once we begin to introduce AI into this, it's beginning to become game over, and you're just gonna have to go with your gut feeling. We're gonna be right back to square one. Whatever my gut tells me, I'm probably gonna go with, because that's gonna be the only thing I'm gonna feel like is even a little bit worthy, or credible enough to trust at all. And there's another side story. You guys might have seen this as well. It has been debunked. This guy made this whole thing about, Dairy Queen disappeared. Why would they be doing renovations at the Dairy Queen disappeared? Well, it turned out he went to the wrong Dairy Queen. So if anybody saw that story, you can go ahead and wipe that from your memories, because and then the guy even commented, and he was like, well, that was confusing, or something to that effect. So so that was debunked. But what I will say though is the construction hasn't stopped at the actual at UVU, and so it looks like they're now working in the walkway. So I have this from Diligent Denizen put on screen here again. The guy says, I don't care what you say, remodeling a homicide scene to this degree 2 weeks after it happened is not normal. And so yes, you can see this here. The construction's moved on to the walkway now. I'll keep that still frame up. So I believe it's like they've done the paving now. They've done, they did the trap door. They did the paneling. They did the vinyling from the glass as well. I mean, at this point, it's like, they're in 3 years, they're going to be every stone and tile and shingle will be completely replaced. It's like I just don't get it. I guess maybe they had plans to do all of this like right before, and it's just like really bad timing. But there just comes a point where you're like, dude, all of this construction was planned right after this. Like, it just doesn't. It's, to me, that's one you're gonna have to stretch to me, and I do find that to be a bit odd. It's kind of getting out of pocket. But back into the, how bad is it, right? How bad really is it? This sign was seen at Arizona State University, and it literally says Target Practice USA, making a play on a wordplay joke with Turning Point. It says the sign that was seen, I saw it from Sarah Stock, who had quoted it. It's from Tyler Bauer, but I could care less about him. But it's basically the quote that all of these left-wingers and liberals come at Charlie Kirk with, which is just a very basic and commonsensical understanding of how the world works. And you can see right here, Target Practice USA with a reticle over Charlie Kirk's neck, exactly where he was shot. So just to show you that it does not matter. The enemy is seemingly not even human at certain points, or they have at least been deprived of their humanity. I will always add the caveat there too. A lot of this is, if everyone understands the fatherlessness home, and you yourself was raised with a father, it is very hard to put yourself in the shoes of somebody who was raised without one. So there is an element too that, again, I am a Christian and a Christian nationalist. I can get very, very out of pocket sometimes myself, but there is an element to me that, we are all God's children. I would never wish harm, and I don't want bad things to happen to anybody in general. And I do feel for those who were raised their entire lives without a father and only probably a bitter mother to be around the home with them. And so it's a hard thing for me to put myself into the shoes of, because I did have a father. I had a great father. I had a father who had a beautiful and robust moral compass that has made me the man I am today. And so to have that removed, you go, well, I probably would be a worse person. I probably would be a awful person. I probably would be someone who would quit at the first bit of hardness. I would probably, be one of those people who would blame my problems on somebody else. I probably would be someone who would probably be in a life of crime. So there is an element of that I do feel for those who ultimately were in very, very poor situations. And when we all understand just the level and intensity of psychological operations, there's a part of me that does feel for those who, maybe only had an 80 IQ. What were they supposed to do? Just magically figure it out somehow without a father in their life, with a mother who hates men, who takes them to, transgender church services every other weekend. It's like, you gotta face the truth. For some people, the realities are like they didn't even have a chance. And so it's hard to throw everybody under that boat and be like, man, they all did this, or they're all just as culpable. Try not to fall into that boat, to be honest. But the updates from Candace Owens that she posited today, though, weren't too crazy by any means, but I did catch a couple of them while it was live. I didn't watch the whole show, so somebody can correct me if there's more. But supposedly the family themselves believe that Tyler is innocent, which seems to be a pretty shocking reversal of where we were before on the onset of the story, which was supposedly the father was the one who was like, I'm going to turn him in and not take any of the money. And supposedly there was all these conversations that the family had in like the couple of weeks before then. One in particular was like a intense like dinner conversation is kind of the way it was laid out to be. But now it seems, at least Candace is reporting, that the family believes that Tyler's innocent. So what do you make of that? It's hard to tell. And then additionally, supposedly the family had no idea he was gay. But I think the easy explanation is of course, like, he's closeted and he didn't want his family to know. And I think that's pretty easy to explain away. The one though that was a little curious was the fact that Candace is saying, now she could be lying and she could be totally wrong, and maybe I'm an idiot for listening to the words of a black woman, but she says apparently It was the former sheriff friend of the family who called it into the police and gave the advice for him to turn himself in. So the guy's name supposedly is Mike Mitchell. He's like this deputy. Candace went on to length about how he's like not mentioned really much anywhere, doesn't have much of a presence or a profile online or even in the newspaper as well. So that's just curious on the ends of it's just differing now. Now the origin of the story of how he even got into custody in the first place seemingly is on shaky ground now too. So take that with a grain of salt, but just giving you some updates there. No, I'm not believing Candace. I'm just saying this is what Candace has posited today as of like literally 40 minutes ago. Or it's probably been longer than that now. I've been live for a minute. But that's what she's saying. And so feel free. Take it and run with it, boys. Debunk it if you can. But that's what's being said now. And, it's not like the official narrative is very believable. it's very hard to believe anything, to be quite real with you. But that's the update there with what we had from Charlie Kirk, just to give it a little bit of my attention, if you will. And what we do have, though, and something I would like to run through and explore with you guys as well, is a Chief Trumpster thread. Now, Chief Trumpster, great for him. He put the work in and put a debunk with a suplex. That's funny. Yeah, you can try. Chief Trumpster put out a expose or a thread on X about a bunch of lies from Breland Hollyhand or Brylan, whatever, however you pronounce it, Mr. Bree, the supposed heir to the throne. And so it's not even just Chief Trumpster. Other people actually came out of the woodwork who are like even a bit more mainstream conservative and said, no, like he's not listed on TPUSA here. He's like not on the calendar. He's not on the schedule. Who did he talk to that said Charlie gave him his blessing to do all of this? Like, we don't even know. So that was a bit curious, but here's the thread here from Chief Trumpster. And I'll go to the AF Post one actually first. Yeah, get rid of these tabs actually. Forgive me. I'm going to get contacts as well, guys. I call him Brie Larson. It's actually a good one. Brie Larson, I like that. I will be getting contacts soon, so we'll know more of the awful glasses. I look terrible in a suit with glasses. I'm not gonna do that to myself. This is from Chief Trumpster, but this is the bigger one from AF Post. Now, AstroTurfed is I would say extremely, like there's got to be a better word for that. It's like propagated, extremely heavily propagandized influencer. Brie Larson claimed multiple times that he had partnered with TPUSA for his tour of college campuses. Then TPUSA COO, Chief of Operations, I believe. There might be two different COOs, but Chief of Operations Tyler Bauer confirmed on X that Hollyhand was not employed by TPUSA, stating that he had set up to speak at 8 or so local ones and calling it a tour. Hollyhand had reportedly exaggerated his connection to Charlie Kirk after his assassination to boost his career, with neither Kirk nor TPUSA acknowledging him on X or endorsing the tour. And forgive me, I just realized I had it on top chat. So sorry, guys. I'll put it on live chat. Some more chats pop up. Oh, we just go one day at a time. So Chief Trumpster put together a thread that has actually a lot more context to it from all of these supposed lies from Mr. Hollyhand here. So Chief Trumpster writes, exclusive, the failure of Hollyhand's Youth Advisory Council in defense of establishment. Breland, as chair of the RNC Youth Advisory Council, oversaw the collapse of the Gen Z group and covered for the swamp. What did the group even accomplish? Nothing. Yeah, that's funny. 90% Ashkenazi. That's funny. She's probably going to be schizophrenic then. From Chief Trumpster, here's the first one. I'll make this a little bit smaller so I can fit the whole thing on here. So the first portion in this thread here, Chief Trumpster writes that the RNC under Ronna McDaniel was contacted by Mr. Breland in January of 2023 to form this Youth Advisory Council and launched it in that summer. So the question that he's posing is, how did he have Ronna McDaniel's direct contact? The council had the goal of getting Gen Z out to vote for Trump, but what did they actually do? So here's a 2-minute clip of this individual talking about this. So here we go.
Speaking of the RNC, I've got about a minute and a half or so, 2 minutes left. Tell me a little bit about this new position for you. This is a big deal. Well, I'll let you explain it and announce it. Hit it.
Yes, sir. You were one of the first people to have me on air after I came out with an article back in January titled "The GOP Must Address the Elephant in the Room, Gen Z."
Right.
I came on air. I talked to you about it. I said on air that the Republican Party is an endangered species at risk of extinction if we don't start involving my generation. And oh my gosh, Twitter blew up at me after your show, David. They freaked out. They said it was fear mongering. But you know me. I continue to put out tweets, continue to put out articles, continue to go on TV. But I put action behind my words. I just didn't want to, be this talking pundit on TV. I actually wanted to do something with my thoughts
Right.
and beliefs and ideals. So I reached out to the GOP chairwoman, and since January, we have been meeting and having discussions and planning. And I just got back from a trip to DC about a month ago.
All right, guys. You want American bald colonial stock American, or test tube baby? and let's be real here. I don't have the blazer, but I look more spiffy than that, brother. Okay, back to your scheduled programming. I don't need to be that big. Bald.
Meeting with some fellow young people, and we are so excited to be rolling out an RNC Youth Advisory Council for 2024. The official launch will be sometime at the beginning of summer, but I'm so excited to take this position. It's an incredible opportunity to be able to represent my generation as a first-time voter come 2024. So I'm so excited and really looking forward to what we're going to be able to do with this thing.
That's great. I got about
Yeah, I don't really care what else they wanted to talk about. So that's basically him, right? Promoting this youth advisory council that he had to get in direct contact to Ronna McDaniel to basically have the blessing of the RNC. So Chief Shumster says, so what do? Basically nothing. I have seen no indication of them actually doing anything of value. Did they door knock, phone bank? Their main achievement is some obscure debate. That's it. Chief Shumster says, I get more views today. The group was a failure under Breland. Just a title for his resume. And it's attached here with a screenshot that says from Chief Shumster. Actually, we are doing this. The Youth Advisory Council has partnered with 40 influencers this year, along to help promote conservative messaging. 15 influencers have attended our 4 debates. Many attended more than one debate. So that's great. That's wonderful. Chief Shumster goes on to say that the council did not last long and completely collapsed due to the lack of leadership from Breland and Ronna McDaniel. So in December, so it doesn't even last a whole year, Carolyn Wren announced that herself, along with several members of the council, were stepping down from the youth group because of them. Interesting. Carolyn Wren is I don't know who that is, to be honest. I thought I did. I don't. Then he goes on, he says, lack of organization, lack of tangible goals and benchmarks, and general lack of vision. You have squandered a critical opportunity to hear from young conservatives. Another failed fundraising ploy by the RNC. This should disqualify Breland from the GOP. Drain the swamp. So those are some of the remarks made, not the bottom two, but these were some of the remarks that were being made, in reference to their irritation of why they're walking away from that youth council. Then he continues going on. He says, after the announcement from Carolyn Wren, Breland responded with empty words with zero proof of anything meaningful being accomplished. And another member who did not step down on that letter responded and claimed that they had to do more than take pictures looking important. So this is apparently Weston D. Immer, who didn't step down initially, but clearly felt the same as a lot of these individuals. He writes, Breland, I respect you. However, as a fellow member, I disagree. We must do more than take pictures looking important and promote bank your way, I'm assuming. We need to do actual work and implement the recommendations many of the other members have recommended, not just what the rich members have suggested. It could keep going, right? Like there's more that we could go in here, but that's the gist, right? This kid is a creation. He's a product of the donor class. He's just like this rich this rich product. And it's funny that he's even getting flack from what I would consider probably even other like frat richos, elite kids who are irritated that the elites are the only ones being paid attention to. So I think the guy had a quick, his career is probably over now at this point. I would hope that the Daily Wire and others like them would not continue to keep trying to push this kid, seeing how even in the mainstream conservative, circle on X has clearly rejected him. You don't even need to see what the dissident right thinks of the kid. Like if the mainstream conservative angle is pushing him. Now, Chiefs Trumpster not being mainstream by any means, but there have been many others, right? Like we're talking 9mm SMG, some of the more classic kind of accounts that would fall under more mainstream conservative values. I don't see what they're even doing now at this point of continually trying to push him, unless his dad has a stronger hand on things than what we know about so far. But yeah, he is a dweeb, but but even worse than that, he's not one of us. It's not a, because there's dweebs in here that are they're one of us. But the issue is, it's like, not only is he just a dweeb and he's probably homosexual, it's also that he's not one of us. He's one of them. He's a neocon. I don't even know what his actual ethnicity is, right? Crypto Jew or whatever. You can say whatever. Not one of us. That's all. That's good enough for me. Not one of us. Okay, next. And so we have a couple other smaller things, which I'm ultimately not going to go that long because Nick is live right now with Glenn Greenwald, I believe. I'm pretty sure. Is just a couple of responses from the left here. And so one of the first ones I wanted to cover here is this first one being, well, not this. Don Lemon had this quote earlier today, and I'm sure a lot of you maybe have already seen it, but this is it. So Don Lemon comes out and says, "White men, something deep in you is broken. You guys believe that violence is the answer." And here we find ourselves. Here we find ourselves once again that the disgraced homosexual black former CNN liar is on his own, whatever, it's his own show, right? The Don Lemon Show, I think it's on YouTube or whatever, has the gall to sit there and say that all white men in general, generalizing, something deep in you is broken. And the thing is I'm not mad at the fact that he said it at all. I'm just mad at the fact that when he says it and it's an obvious lie and he has nothing statistical or evident to back it. But when I say it the other way around, the complete inverse, if I was to say, black men, something deep in you is broken. You guys believe that violence is the answer. I get ran out of town. Now, what I would say is I do think that YouTube's kind of relaxed a little bit on stuff like that. And so I will say that with my whole chest, that is the actual problem, is that how about, hey Don, per capita, can we do a debate on per capita? Can we do a debate on percentages and probabilities? Can we do a debate on that? But there's Don Lemon again, fire and free. And it's, it would be, I wouldn't care if the same rules applied on the other foot, right? If the same rules applied to the other side, no one would care that he was saying this because everyone would just go, Don, you idiot. Well, everyone still does. But the reason why it's irritating is because people, less so nowadays, but, in the last couple of years, 5-10 years, have literally been fired from their jobs or, and otherwise, banned, censored, and completely moderated off of platforms for positing the inverse of this, which to many people here know that to be objectively true. And so what do you do with that, right? And so it's the, objective reality is shunned and not allowed to be there while the delusion is propagated. And so we'll just let's listen to this guy talk shit about us for a second.
Men who look like you, men who vote like
Why is it so loud?
you, and men who sound like you. White men, something is broken. Something is cracked.
He's actually so right about that part. There is something broken in us, and it's our like our spirit as white men. It's our confidence as white men. It's our willingness to have our own in-group preferences. It's our brotherhoodness of white men is broken. He's spot on. He's just entirely wrong about what he's trying to pin as the answer. And the reason why it's broken is, again, you could go to that copy pasta that's gets shared. I see it like once a week at this point. Here's the fact, and the reason why we are so psychologically broken is because you literally browbeat us, in my generation in particular, to absolute pulp, to believe that everyone before us, and it has all been all of our sinful nature and crimes as the white race, that we need to repair for and repair and work every single day to fix. So my entire generation, from the moment I was in basically elementary school until all the way through college, and it's still happening now, was basically told, you are inherently lesser, you are inherently evil, rather, not lesser. You are inherently evil because your skin color basically represents all of these things, and because this slavery and whatnot. And that basically built a class of men who were open. They were going, okay, if everything you're saying is true, then like, okay, I'm open to that. It sounds like, yeah, we did some terrible things. Like, that sounds bad. What can I do to, repair amends? And even when the guys who do that and they extend that olive branch, they get spit on, smacked, and then even made fun of and mocked for even halfway doing it. You can even go so far as, what was that instance, I believe it was in San Francisco, where the girlfriend refused to identify the man who literally just stabbed her boyfriend to death because, she was so overwhelmed with white guilt that how could she possibly put her hand involved? How could she possibly, continue that cycle of problems, even though it literally happened in front of her? And what happened was, well, people started waking up. White dudes kind of almost simultaneously at once started going, yeah, I feel like you're just saying this so you can take advantage of me. I feel like you're saying this because you're trying to just inflict the same thing on me. And, lo and behold, and you can take that a bunch of different directions, but there you have it, right? It's this brokenness of listening to people who are supposed to be, they're elementary school teachers. It's your principal. It's the people you see on TV. It's Bill Nye, for fuck's sake, right? Bill Nye wouldn't be lying to me on TV. And then you do make that realization later on, and you go, oh no, everyone was actually lying to me. They were propagating an ideology that ultimately is meant to seek me out and put me at the bottom of a totem pole. And why would I ever for a living fucking second put any amount of effort into helping the ideology put me at the bottom? And it goes a bit deeper than that, right? And you can go to whiteness being evil in general, and we know how far these people would take it, but that's the brokenness, is you have half of us are still on that train. Half of us are still on this train of going like, we're just not doing enough. Like, what else can we do to show us that we're anti-racist? Like, how much more could we literally cuck ourselves racially to make this problem work? And then you have the other half of guys who are going, dude, it's done, dude. Like, I'm done. And it's like, and half of them are like, I'm ashamed of some of the things that I've done, like that I did through high school. That was like, and even myself too. Like, I think of some of the projects I worked on in high school and like some of the stuff they made us do. It's like, man, dude, like the words I have for the people and the teachers who made me go through those lesson plans, the things I have to say to you right now, I could not even begin to articulate the anger and frustration I have for you violating me in such a way, raping me with your ideology that is fake, untrue, and unchristian. But alas, here's the rest of it. That was way too long of a rant, and I apologize for such a 30-second clip. I'm going to restart.
Men who look like you, men who vote like you, and men who sound like you. White men, something is broken. Something is cracked deep inside when so many of you believe the answer to fear, to loss, to change is violence. Are you listening to me? I hope I'm saying it loud enough for the people in the back.
And that's the thing is like, no. And what white guys are listening to Don Lemon, even at that, right? Like, are you serious? Like, I mean, maybe because he knows it's probably going to get clipped and people will see it that way, but I can't imagine he's got a strong, audience of white men. But maybe he does. Maybe he commands a strong. Maybe that's all his audience is. Quite frankly, is just a bunch of bunch of men who are just like, they can't wait for an opportunity to get on their knees and kiss the feet of a black man because they have worked themselves in such a vortex of believing this is the reality. And the single greatest thing that you could possibly do on this planet is to not be racist and to fight against racism. And like, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm getting more used to it by the day. I don't know. I guess I had a lot more faith in people when I was younger. The next thing is Scott Wiener, who's getting like obliterated online. And dude, he has one of the most unfortunate faces of all time. I'm gonna say that while I'm sitting here bald right now in the similar getup as him. It's unfortunate, dude. And you can try, right? I think you can do a bit more to try. But he basically gets obliterated, right? So this is Senator Scott Wiener. And he writes, if you don't want to be called a fascist, stop being a fascist. Look at this ratio. 7,000 replies. It hasn't even hit 1,000 likes yet. It's got over 1 million views. Nobody's buying what you're selling. Nobody. Here, you want this? All right, there you go. I'm just so used to being blocked by so many people. I forget I can reply to people sometimes. Here's just like an 18-second clip, but here's this raging Jew going to tell you what to think and feel.
Trump just put out an actual enemies list of Democratic elected officials who haven't been nice enough to ICE. And yet, if you call Trump and his cronies fascists, you're somehow inciting violence. You know what they say? If it walks like a fascist and quacks like a fascist, it's a fascist.
Well, if it walks like a child predator and it talks like a child predator, is it? Like, it's just so aggressive, dude. Yeah, nose check. Homath says communists are not people and they do not have rights. That's funny. Homath is getting there, man. He's getting there. One day he's not going to be saying communists anymore. One day he will understand who the communists are. One day. Don't care if I'm called a fascist. Yeah. And so, he's just getting obliterated. I don't want to go any further because everybody knows Scott Wiener did one thing once at a what do they call it? At the San Fran like parades or whatever. I'm pretty sure like, I don't know if he went full nude, but like he got so close, brother. And because that's what they do. They get naked in front of kids there in San Francisco with their pride parades and whatnot. I don't know if it was San Fran, but it was some kind of parade like that, probably in Colorado or somewhere. Ted Cruz also gets brutally ratioed, but in a different way. This is actually funny because I caught this when I'd seen the original post from Marjorie Taylor Greene. So what you end up getting here is Marjorie Taylor Greene. We'll go to the Ted Cruz. I'll hit back here in a second. We've got to read through this one first. So Marjorie Taylor Greene comes out and says, like, I'm not suicidal. I'm a happy person. She's like, I believe in God. She's basically putting this out like, I'm not any of this. She says, with that said, if anything happens to me, I ask you all to find out which foreign government or powerful people would take heinous actions to stop the information from coming out. So she doesn't name anybody, right? She even ends with the people understand what I'm saying. What does Ted Cruz say? Why do crazy people keep thinking the Jews are trying to kill them? Dude, you see this, right? Obviously, all these replies. And then everyone says it. She never mentioned Jews, but you just told on yourself here. And that is just what everybody's ripping through. And so it's clear what's on Ted's mind. And it's obvious that this is, the noticing is reaching levels never thought possible, if you will. So it just, and I saw a couple like this, actually. Ted Cruz wasn't the only one who did the same thing. I think Laura Loomer herself had literally done the same thing. It's like through like identical tweets, and they just tell it themselves. This I thought was funny because Brandon Tatum was just insufferable. But get this. Dave Smith comes in off of the top rope. Says, Brandon, the fact that you had to Google such a well-known term is not a brag. But what term was that, right? What term is Dave saying he needs to look up? Well, if you read here, Brandon Tatum writes, Hasbara talking points. I had to look that up. I had no idea what Hasbara was. Oh, and I misspoke. So what? You still have no answer to what I said. They hate Israel just like you do. They don't want a two-state solution. Dog. The guy actively pushing Hasbara talking points didn't even know what it was. Like, dude. Brandon Tatum, I'm going to be honest. I have full confidence I would win in a debate against Brandon Tatum. I have so much confidence that I would just not even prepare. Like, I don't even know if I would put an outline together for that debate. Like, and it's clear. I mean, they're just reaching deeper into the bag. I think it's gotten to the point where the pro-Israel stuff has gotten so bad and so career damaging that they're at the bottom of the barrel, and now they have Brandon Tatum, Xavier DeRusso, and Emily Saves America. That's who's pushing for Israel. And in fact, if Israel is smart enough, they wouldn't even let them push it because they would know that that's actually going to damage their brand even worse. And so in this light, with all these pro-Israel influencers popping out of nowhere, but we all know it's because they're being paid, and it's part of a millions of dollar push by Israel to regain the Gen Z support so it doesn't immediately disappear in like the next 5-10 years or so. We have this, and I thought this caption is actually perfect. Honestly, who is this supposed to appeal to? Because this video is making the rounds, and it is, again, some of the cringiest, most insufferable, makes you want to punch the person across from you, angering and frustrating, because they think this sells. Yeah, my eyes. Yeah. For anyone who's not seen it, fair warning, this is it's pretty aggressive. I'm going to be honest with you. But here it is.
Imagine supporting people who start wars just to lose the wars so they can cry about it and then try it all again.
You must see anti-Semites are literally obsessed with Jews. Now walk with me. While you must see anti-Semites are stacking eviction notices, Jews are out here stacking up businesses.
Jews control all the industries. Maybe if you spent more time taking notes from successful people, you wouldn't have to spend your nights and weekends spreading hate from your anonymous account with an anime profile picture.
Do you work as hard as Jews? Do you network like Jews? No, because you're too busy cheering on a group of musty terrorists who smell like dirty earring backs. And if we're gonna keep it real, you're really mad because your income is giving side hustle.
Period.
How you gonna hate from outside, Shabbat? You can't even get in.
Well, my job is done here, guys. How do we beat that? Oh my gosh. It's literally that meme. It's that meme where the guy's like, he's like, Lord, why do you give me your hardest challenges? And he's like, and God responds, and he's like, my brother in Christ, these people are literally can't be any more dumb or retarded. This is the state of conservatives in America. This is what conservatives are doing in America, man. Like, a woman and a openly homosexual black man, as they push Hasbara talking points and shit on you because you don't network like Jews. Dude. What do you do? What do you do, man? What do you do? I don't even have any words for that, to be honest. Like, what do you want me to say to that? How do they have followings, man? Who follows Xavier DeRusso? Who is that audience? Who follows Emily Saves America? I can get the girl a bit more. Like, I get that she has all these boss babes and whatnot, but who the fuck is following Xavier DeRusso? Who does that guy appeal to? Is there some like major wing in conservative politics of gay black men that I'm like just entirely unaware of? I mean, like, I'll be proven wrong if so, but like, I ain't seen them. Where are they? And nobody says CCG Bryson. He's okay sometimes. Just kidding. Had to add that in there. CCG Bryson is a little annoying sometimes. But, you know, no idea, man. No idea. And so, and from that, one of the last things that I did have for today was actually, I might actually end up going deeper with a video response. I mentioned Nick would respond. I'll pull it here from Kaiser Rev. So we have Brandon Tatum going directly at Nick Fuentes. And like anyone else who has done this before, it does not end well. If you go for the king, you must not miss. And I think tomorrow or tonight, we are probably going to get another great 10 to 20 minute rant annihilating Brandon Tatum off the face of the earth. And the reason I say that is because this clip is making the rounds as of a couple hours ago. So I'll put it on screen here. And we'll take this in knowing that there's probably a response coming in a few hours. Well, it was with Glenn Greenwald tonight, so maybe not. So maybe tomorrow night, get a response. We'll see, though. He'll probably respond on X. But here it is.
How many seconds? Oh, thank God it's over. What an idiot. I don't know how people think this dude is a normal person that they should platform other than kicking his butt verbally on a debate. Like, do you not have any intuition or wisdom? Do you not believe in God? These fake Christians like Nick Fuentes, who trashed Charlie forever and called Charlie a fake Christian. Look at his theology of Erica Kirk. Dummy. Some people, because you're a maniac and you don't have any emotional intelligence, some people know how to put on the face that they need for their husband's legacy, to do what she got to do to continue his legacy. What kind of effing woman?
Let's stop it right there, Mr. Brandon Tatum. So he's already being hypocritical. He talks, firstly, he brings up this, Erica Kirk, right? And her theology and being a fake Christian. And so one of the hallmarks of what it is to be a Christian is to respect the patriarchy. Well, what does even a patriarchy mean, right? It would mean that the husband is at the head with the wife at the side, the support, and then with the children being taken care of by her underneath both of them. So it's very simple, right? It goes man, goes husband, wife, children. And here he is defending the fact that she, in a matter of a week, 2 weeks, is already turning heel and fulfilling and making all these appearances for his business to go on. Positioning herself to be basically the CEO of the company and leading the company. In fact, I would argue probably the most Christian thing that she could do is take time off and dedicate a much, much more time than what she is. And I know that for a fact, given how many appearances she has with her children. I think any ounce of those kids being spent with their babysitter and anyone, literally anyone but their own mom, her, in the first month of their father being taken from them, it's just a travesty. Like, what are you doing? Like, at a certain point, you gotta sit there and go, hey, kids are more important than you being a boss, babe. Like, what are we doing here? And of course, Brandon Tatum would defend that.
Would just sit at home and cry all day when she was married to a soldier, a man who stood on principle, that fought every day for American values, that traveled all over the country. She's married to that guy that prays over his family, that supports his family, surrounded by patriots who have something in them that's greater than what the world is offering. And she can step up to the plate to honor her husband, and she probably cries at home all night. That's like saying, Brandon, you don't cry every time you get on a...
It's retarded in the aspect of he's like, no, I'll tell you how a person grieves, and then says subjectively she's probably crying all night. How is the inverse then not as equally credible then? Right? Did I just fall out of the fucking sky when apparently Brandon Tatum got his master's degree in behavioral psychological analysis of grieving? It's miss me with the retarded bullshit. And I'm not trying to curse. I really am trying to clean that up. But sometimes it is, what are we doing? The audacity here to act this and all of them are doing it, right? Him, the quartering, there's a lot of them. They go, how dare you say that? I know how people grieve and you all do not. Get the fuck off your high horse. What? No. Like, no. And to ignore the fact that there is a big camp. One of the first text messages I got after Erica Kirk's first speech said, "My God, cringe," because they didn't even buy the first one that she had. It's not about people grieving differently. It's about all these weird signals. And then now here we are. You guys are defending it. Now it's making it even more weird. Like, it's cyclical in that way.
I have cried multiple times over what happened to Charlie, but I know how to compose myself enough to fight the good fight. These people are stupid saying that Erica's speech, when she first did it, she was crying and but you want to judge her on what? Show me an example of a person who lost their husband the way she lost Charlie. And what did they say in response? How was their first speech? The woman is continuing his legacy. I got the messages. I love him. I miss him. What else you want her to do? Say, let's forget about it. It makes your husband's death even worse if you're sitting around crying about it and you're not helping further the mission. Good people that believe in God understand that God has a plan and that God's plan is bigger than ours. When you Nick Fuentes, you don't believe in God. I don't know what God he believe in. You somehow think that you should be consumed by worldly events and emotionalism and not by the Spirit of God that gives you grace and gives you passion to keep going. That's like saying that the apostles, when Jesus was crucified on the cross, somehow they supposed to sit around and cry all day.
Well, that's the point that I'm making here, right? Which is one camp goes. It's I hate to say this, and like I really hate to do this, but I, like Nick said verbatim, I really don't want to be the asshole in the room, but a lot of people are feeling this. It doesn't seem like this is fully legitimate. What does he say in response? Brandon Tatum says that Nick seemingly just can't grasp God's plan. He's not a Christian, and he's never seen people grieve. I mean, like some of the stuff that they've been saying is just insane, and like. But I mean, again, the end point is like, well, what do you do with that, right? Like, that's all really what Protestantism has given us is at the end of the day, you have two people, one's wearing blue, one's wearing gold, and they both sit there and point at each other and they say, to white Christianity in general, they say you're not a Christian. They say you're not a Christian because this, you're not a Christian because this. And it's nonsensical in the aspect of you're trying to say, this person argument is, you're trying to say argument X from Nick is not good because Y. And Y is because he's just like a non-Christian. But in the same breath, point to all these things Erica Kirk is doing that's non-Christian and then saying it's literally clown world. We're living in a clown world. And the ridiculous thing is like, and what I will say too, the ridiculous thing here is the fact of, I'm over here going, make sure, make sure, all sex do it. You're totally right, Titan. And it pisses me off. I'll be honest. It pisses me off. It pisses me off that I have people, in my ear going like, like maybe you want to curse less, you want to make yourself be a bit more, better Christian. And that's true. Like I'm trying to do my best to stand up. But in the same breath, if I'm being, told like, hey, shut up, don't say anything, be cleaned up, be above reproach. But the same people who are saying that to me are actively holding a blind eye to all of the nonstop interracial problems we have, all of the clear and obvious like crimes being committed by many, the disparities among the groups, while also turning a blind eye to the blatant effeminacy of the church and just how bad women have gotten out of hand, while turning a blind eye to, like, if that's you, shut the fuck up. I can't do it. I can't do it that the people who are so concerned about curse words are the first ones who will say, no, the black man, come on, you don't know his story. You don't know his story. There could be a good reason he raped and killed that woman. You want to hear his story, but what about the food? And then the same thing, you go like, well, hey man, like, this track we're on, like with men and women, it's like, dude, it's looking really bad. And, it's going to point to a lot of violence. Like if we don't begin to solve these things. And they go, yeah, men need to pick themselves up by the bootstraps and do better. I mean, sure, men could do a lot better, but what about women? Are you suggesting that? Are you suggesting that women? It's tiring, man, and people wonder why no one listens to any of these mainstream people anymore. My friends probably wonder why. Like when I say, yeah, I'm sad about Charlie Kirk, but I think anybody who was actually a true fan of his and enjoyed what he was pushing, full-fledged, I'm like, yeah, I think that person's retarded. I think that person was being lied to by an establishment show. Same thing goes for Brandon Tatum. And same thing goes for Fox News, and same thing goes for Tucker Carlson, same thing goes for the rest of them. It's like, I mean, like, you might as well just like form a new party. I mean, not form a new party, but understand, like, no, like, I don't agree with any of that because you guys consistently told me that all the things I think that are happening and need to be changed are non-existent, hateful, and fuck all. So you shove me into an obscure corner. So, okay, we're not on the same thing. And I'm not going to push for your ideas to be brought out there too. And then they wonder why all this unfighting's going on. Who's Nick Fuentes? Why are all these people flooding to Nick Fuentes, this hateful person? Why are people all doing? I mean, you ignored us. You ignored everybody. You told us not to believe our lying eyes. I mean, what did you expect? What did you expect when we told you, like, I don't know, 6 years ago, like, hey man, the interracial ads get a little out of hand. Hey, this welfare state's kind of getting a little out of hand. All of this DEI is kind of getting out of hand. And it goes 6 days from Sunday. It goes women, the racial aspect. It goes to the Jewish aspect. It goes to a lot of different aspects. So what do you expect? Of course, I'm not going to listen to Brandon Tatum anymore. It's not one of me. He will never be me. He will never be in my camp. It's possible. Like to be truly in my camp. Right? He's not a white man. It sucks, man. Like I didn't really think we would have to go all the way down these racialized lines, but I sure as hell ain't going to continue to sit in this stasis where I watch as all the ones like me get told to shut up and get humiliated and run all through these rituals. No, I'm sorry. Can't do it. Just can't. Okay, and I'm not going to tell the next guy too. I'm going to tell the next guy, make some noise. Don't be racially cucked. Don't be cucked in any sense. Don't be cucked by your wife. Don't be cucked racially. And if you find yourself in those environments, break the mold, find a way out of it. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to be forever be held at gunpoint, figuratively, because of the fucking N-word. Grow the fuck up. But, kind of a rough note to end on. But the flurry of emotions, a lot of things happening. Alcee Liverton made it here. Appreciate that very much, man. But I'm about 7 minutes way too long. I actually didn't expect to go this long either. But and people want to fight on it and want to do this unity and stuff. And that's one thing I would add too, and I'll actually go off the back of the Lost Creole, but I do appreciate Alcee Liverton being here. The Lost Creole. Yeah, the hair. Yeah, the hair's gone. The Lost Creole saying over 1 billion viewed feminist. Kelly and Erica Kirk interview. Scary, and both consider themselves Catholic. Well, that's, again, I think I might have brought this up a few streams ago. One of the things that I did catch as I was listening to a lot of these memorial services was Erica's nice, like 3.5 minute, pivot away from the memorial to basically opine over how men should treat their wives. It falls on deaf ears. I don't care how Christian you are. The moment you bring up any of that bullshit, those throwaway lines that Erica Kirk said, you say that to any man who's struggling with a woman, they're just going to walk away from you. It doesn't help. Not helpful. Literally not helpful at all. Doesn't answer the question. Doesn't make women what we need them to be. Sorry. You're turning people away from the church when you do that shit. I hope you know that. I hope you know the reason why Protestants have bled out to Catholics and Orthodox is because Protestant pastors continually drop the ball when the time comes. They are continually always there. They're ready. They're like, here's my chance. I could do something meaningful. Oh no, I fumbled the opportunity. Oh no. This sucks, man. Trying to black pill ultimately too hard on those measures. But again, I do appreciate everybody for being here with me. Hopefully I was able to give a good show today. I would have had a video out earlier, but again, I did have food poisoning like late last night. I will go ahead and tell the full story now that we're at the end, and I'm not going to gross anybody out at the beginning. But still, right now, I threw up so intensely that I thought I was literally going to die because I could not breathe. Like, that's how bad it was. I couldn't catch my breath. I was like, it was so relentless. Like my chest was like convulsing real bad. I feel so much better now. Yeah, and let me tell you this. Do not buy a Lunchable in the next couple of days. I think that's what it was. And it's kind of embarrassing to say, but I love Lunchables. They're like easy. For me, they're like nice snacks. Like I could have a couple Lunchables. I'm like, that's a nice snack. I think that was it. I think that's what got me. So I'm going to go throw the rest from the fridge away. But I do appreciate everybody for being here. Christ is King. As always, we need Pam Bondi eliminated from office. She needs to be fired. That's actually a poor choice of words. She needs fired. She needs banned from public life. Kash Patel needs deported. We need white men to have an awakening. Otherwise, like this will just continually go the direction we need it to not go. And I do hope that every single one of you finds it within yourselves to also be the example you need to be to your friends, to your family, to your children, and even to your parents and your elders. Because ultimately, a lot of them older than us failed us. And so we need to right those wrongs and change the course of what's going on. Hit the like button, smash it, subscribe if you've not already. I appreciate it very much. Sorry for being a little bit off my rocker today, maybe a bit too aggressive, but I appreciate it greatly. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.
Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ